Thank you for welcoming me onto your screens, onto your headphones, depending on how you're watching this. I'm Eddie, and this is The Rollback. Folks, I'm going to talk to you today about the Continental, aka Diet John Wick. So the Continental tells the story of Winston and how he came up to become the owner, the proprietor of the Continental, how he became the manager. Along the way, this is, well, a bit of an odd duck because the series is too long to be one movie, but way too short to be a full-on TV series. So they kind of split the middle and made it a 3-part special, each one being a little over an hour and change. The last part actually being an hour and a half. Technically a full-length feature film, but you can see the limitations they had to work with as the series goes on. Now, as far as the main actors in this film, there's two. On one side, we have this unhinged son of a bitch bastard, Mel Gibson, who plays a guy by the name of Cormac. And then we also have Mr., I believe his name is Colin Woodell, playing Winston, the character. Which, not gonna lie, I didn't think a different actor playing the same character would work, but Colin pulls it off. He delivers the lines just perfectly, just the right way Winston would. He's the right amount of Irish gentlemanship, I think that's the right way to say it. But obviously, along with these two young men and a bastard. Among these two is also a very colorful cast of characters, not just the supporting characters that are the quote-unquote good guys, but also the assassins. You have one dude with like a metal mask that does coke off of a machete. You have one woman who has like double-barreled guns everywhere. You also have this one maniac that like wears a kilt the whole time while killing people. Just a really colorful cast. Plus you have Hansel and Gretel, which are two very unhinged people. Just leave it at that. I'm not going to judge them for their hairstyles. I've been judged enough. But them, they're very fucking unhinged. Fun fact, the actress that actually plays Gretel is actually also the person that played the bad twin in Malignant. You know, the one that's a contortionist? Yeah. Also, she has one of the most gnarly fight scenes and almost kills. There's a scene where she's fighting one of the female protagonists, and she kicks from behind, and the female protagonist grabs the foot and brings it down. I thought she snapped her neck. I thought that would have been a cool kill. No, she got back up from that. Unhinged as fuck. Part of the fun about this series is that we get to see the 1970s New York, in very stark contrast to John Wick of now, where it's very clean and crisp, at least most of what they show us. In this, we see 1970s New York, real gritty, with graffiti everywhere, trash everywhere, everything going on at the moment. Although it's crazy because there was a leaked detail that the series was going to surround partially the garbage strikes of the 1970s in New York, which I don't recall that ever playing a part in this film. But nonetheless, that said, this film also, the show, does a good job of giving the Continental and making it its own character. The building has more life. The Continental has always been present in all the other films, but in this one, you see the inner workings, the mail room, the billiards room. You begin to see the servants, the clients, how it builds up, how it does everything, which personally I enjoy. You also find out the reason why Winston really came to power, a coin press. You know those gold coins that you see in John Wick? Well, apparently whoever owns a press is probably in a very strong position of power. The whole chain of events of this film is set off by Frankie, Winston's brother, stealing the coin press and attempting to use it to bargain. That way him and the woman he loves, Yen, I believe this is. I stand correct. Yen. Yen and Frankie want to start a new life. They believe they can bargain the coin press into starting that new life because, as we all know, once you join, it's damn near impossible to leave, with the exception of one Mr. Wick. Now, all that said, Frankie kind of kickstarts everything, and it's crazy because you begin to see John in Frankie, which is one reason why I think Winston really likes John. You see this guy, obviously the similarities with the long hair, but he wants to leave the criminal underground for his wife, the woman he loves. He wants to start a family. He wants to get out. Similarities. Maybe that's, again, why he helps John so much. But at the end of the first part of the series, Frankie pays with his life, trying to get a clear area for Winston and Yen to get away. And Winston declares war on the Continental, and more importantly, war on Cormac. In part 2, we actually get to meet Sharon and everything he does in the Continental. We begin to see an unhinged Cormac and what he's willing to do because that coin press was stolen. We also see Winston bargaining, slowly building up an army, getting ready for a big third act, which I do also want to say, every episode feels like it has its own first, second, and third act, while each part feeling like a first, second, and third act in itself, much like Avengers, then Age of Ultron, and then Infinity War and Endgame. Each one, they kind of feel like the first, second, and third parts of a larger overarching story, so good on them for that. This entire show was well written, well paced, a lot of great action. I'll be honest with you, the only real dent against the show is that it's not as polished. Its TV budget glares, especially when you see outside New York. A lot of the computer generated parts of it look kind of fake. But again, they're dealing with budget constraints. It's weird because it's too big. It looks way better than a TV show, but it doesn't look as polished as a full-length feature film. So it's in this weird middle area, which isn't the worst thing in the world. It's unique. It stands out. Definitely so. For what it's worth, diehards like me, which I don't know if y'all can see, I have a John Wick pop right there. Diehards like me will definitely love the show. I think most people will. Again, it's not something that you need to sink 8 hours into on a Saturday, but definitely not a light watch. Although it did feel like a 2 or 3 part event because of its length and scope, so there's that. That's it. What did you think of the Continental? Go ahead and let us know down below. We'd greatly appreciate it, and we'll catch y'all later. We'll see everyone.